Welcome back to theCUBE live stream here in San Diego for FinOps X 2026. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, with my co-host Paul Nashawaty. We're breaking it down, wrapping up day 2.5 of all the wall-to-wall action, and really the story here has been the growth of AI, building on cloud, getting the data, understanding the cost, mapping it to the value as the revenue and the value creation of generative AI is key, and doing it all in a highly governed, secure environment is the story. Our next guest is going to unpack that with us. Victoria Levy's here, Senior Staff FinOps and Analyst at SailPoint, a company we've covered on theCUBE many times. Great to see you, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so I have to ask you, there's a very big engineering culture here in this community. It's growing super fast.
Yes.
It went from get hold of the cloud, understand cloud, a little bit slower game compared to the AI, and that was fast in the cloud.
Oh yeah.
Now AI's here, they got a new foundation, tokenomics is here upon us, so you have this growth.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to all this here as we wrap up the show, the vibe, the hallway conversations, what's your take?
I think it's a huge change, and so some people are a little shocked still. We haven't accepted it yet, right? But I think everyone is still really excited because it is something that we're going to need. Because AI is moving so fast, we don't have as much time to build all of that governance and KPIs and stuff, so we really need to get going on it so we can come back and do some better governance. So.
You know, JR, I loved his keynote yesterday and today, but yesterday one of the things that jumped out at me was, and it's very nuanced, but I'll just say it, he was very transparent about what he did and didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's a signal that there's a lot more work to do. And at the same time, we just had scale-ups on and other folks, the AI architecture's changing on the infrastructure side. So it's not your yesterday's cloud architecture. You got AI factories, you got distributed computing. So you have now environmental places. Now it's distributed, hybrid, building on like Kubernetes. Now you have a whole nother set of data. What's your take on, one, those KPIs, what needs to get done, and then the architecture behind what needs to be put in place?
I think the fundamentals are still going to be the same from what FinOps does. So yeah, you're going to need your governance, but yeah, the KPIs are going to be way different. And so we have tokens, so people are going to come up with your cost per token, maybe tokens per, I don't know, whatever other business driver there is out there, right? And so it eventually will converge on things that are useful, and I think those will be part of the new foundation, and then we'll be able to build off of that and start building our practices internally. So
yeah, this is interesting, because I like where you were going with that. There's a conversation that's about the evolution of the team. The team, like it's changing, right? You mentioned it, you talked about how this is working. Engineering is part of the FinOps teams now. And I would argue that it's always really been part of the FinOps teams, because execution of cost optimization comes with the shift left of having it done on the engineering side. But the building automation for FinOps really does come with a maturity of an organization. What does that mean to SailPoint? What does that mean to you?
So I think it's important for maintaining the work that you've already done, because if you don't have automation and you tell people to do some of the best practices and right size, that's only a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And so you need to implement that enforcement to make sure that the work you've already done stays there, and then you can build on it and go do different things. And so yeah, like with AI, we don't know what it's going to be yet, but we're going to have to do something there.
Well, but looking at that, what are the metrics that are used to say, how do you measure success? So like if we don't know what it's going to be, and we don't know what those metrics are, how do we even know what we're doing?
I think some of those best practices you can turn into metrics.
Okay.
So you can detect compliance with a policy. So if you know that this is waste in your environment, you detect that waste, and then you can say, it's only in this % of our teams or something like that. And so if we come up with those metrics for AI, which you can classify queries in terms of like useful ones or less useful ones, depending on the output. And so that could be a new way of detecting that, and you can turn that into a KPI that, hey, there is some waste here that we can go and address. So.
Yeah. How has some of the financial side of it, even though it's engineering, because there is a financial component, we're seeing more DevOps DNA, if you will, in the community, but still, you're measuring money, cost. Risk is a big deal. When I think governance, I think risk management, and exposure, certainly with OpEx and black box, kind of like right now it feels like, what's the bill? What's the check?
Yeah.
So talk about that impact and how people are thinking about that.
Yeah, so I think, for FinOps, the name itself comes from DevOps, so it's not financial operations. And so it's about integrating that from the start. And so So yeah, we can kind of do that when we move towards AI as well. We want to make sure that teams are thinking about it when they build their architecture, so we don't have to go back and do the rework there. And so yeah, when it comes to AI and other things, sometimes it doesn't have all that transparency in it, so you don't know if they've built it in there from the start, and so it involves working with the engineers and yeah, getting closer to them. So.
The thing I love about is that the value is there, but when you get into these disciplines, we've heard on theCUBE here that, okay, this department, not my department, or stay in your lane.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of mindset that we're seeing be successful. What's your thoughts on this kind of collaborative piece?
Definitely. I think everybody should be talking to everybody else because there's so much context about why your costs might be the way they are or why a team even built something. You might think that it's not efficient, but they might have another reason, like a security requirement, and that's why they made it that way, so that it's not waste, maybe it's actually valuable. And so talking to them, yeah, you get that context to make better decisions.
And we're hearing tools are out there, but I haven't, one guest said there's no one product yet. What does that look like here? If you can imagine going forward, there's got to be work because the demand's high, there's money on the table. What's your thoughts on platform versus tools?
Ooh, let's see. I mean, yeah, there's a ton of tools out there already, right? So if there's something that you need to get done and you can't do it in-house, for sure, you could get a tool. But I think, going back to the collaboration stuff, a lot of it is built from the team internally. So if you don't build a good structure internally, a tool is not going to do anything for you. You need to take those insights and be able to implement them.
Yeah, we're finding in our research that many organizations are using, actually 75% of respondents in our recent research, 2025 research, indicate that they're using 6 to 15 different tools to do management.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sprawl. That's a lot of, and 54% of those respondents are indicating that they want to move towards in favor of a unified approach, right? To reduce the complexity, reduce all this, but it's very siloed right now. And then, but like when we look at this, jumping into SaaS and versus jumping into AI it's very different. Jumping into SaaS is much easier, right?
Yeah.
Jumping into AI, you have to kind of know what to do, and the data has to be scrubbed, and then there's pieces that go along with it. So optimization is kind of used here as a way to kind of understand the environment. What does this mean to you?
So yeah, I will say from an AI perspective, we don't get the same level of detail in the bill that we do get with cloud or even SaaS because they have all their
intentionally
SKUs.
Though?
Potentially, yeah, like with tokens, they are kind of whatever, whatever it needs to be, and the price can change and all of that. So yeah, I think there's a lot that could be discovered from the bill to be able to get to some of those insights, but you might even be able to abstract it. It's like, the cost of it, what's your output, and make a metric from that as well, so.
Yeah. Where are the gaps? Because the data center doesn't have the kind of tooling that, say, SaaS spends. You mentioned SaaS. Certainly cloud has had years to prepare to send telemetry and data and the kind of reporting needed, but it's almost like a Wild West one in AI generally, but on the data center specifically, what tooling do they have? Mostly it's internal.
Yes, I would say so. There are some tools out there that can help, but yeah, it really is like an internal process to be able to do allocation and chargeback because you've already gotten the bill, finance has already done something with it, right? Accounting's amortized it, and so that's kind of almost not relevant. You can use it, but you have to build your own way of actually determining the true cost and what is waste in the environment, so.
And this conversation we've been having here is buy from a vendor or build your own. Like, how do you think about that and how are people talking about it? Because, it's hard. We saw with the cloud, and people tried to build their own clouds. Other big companies, they failed, and the big hyperscalers won. Is that playing out here?
Yeah, I think in multiple ways. So for AI as well, people try to build their own models too, but that's a lot of work, so that's why we have the ones we have now. And then when it comes to, just tooling for FinOps, I was previously a build it yourself because of the ability to customize it to what you need to do, and so that's always really useful. But I think tooling gives you somewhat of insurance in a way because they are responsible for maintaining it and double checking the data flows and things like that. That takes a lot of work to get accurate information, and so your one person FinOps team isn't going to be able to do that versus a whole company maintaining that.
Yeah, I mean, and you're not in the business of building tools, you're in the business of running your business, right? So let's talk about governance because AI now has touches on so many different things, so many different areas. Governance can be supported through general organizational policies, but that's not good enough in most examples. So what does governance mean to you?
So governance is one of my favorite things.
Okay.
And so I think we can use kind of the same model that we have been using for FinOps and apply it to AI and SaaS and data center and all of that too. So you can kind of, I have an example. So you can kind of set a policy that's more general, and then you can get specific in the process of how you meet that policy for all of those different scopes. So for, let's say the cloud, if you want to modernize your instances, oftentimes the vendors give you a discount for being on the newest thing, right? So your policy could be that you're on the most modern infrastructure, as long as it gives you a benefit for cost, right? And so if there's no benefit, don't do it. And so you could do that with AI too. Is it worth it to go to the new model or not? If you're getting a benefit, then yes, you could do that, and that complies with your policy.
Yeah. So. I love policy-based stuff. I was using an example earlier, not to date myself, but back in the early internet days when Cisco started and routing was here, you had shortest path, least cost. You're seeing similar things now here with model routing, also quality of service, differentiated services, all kind of rhymes. And so you can actually almost do that here by saying, okay, I want this workload because I know it's going to have a great payoff. This is actually policy.
Yes, for sure.
What's your thoughts on that?
So I think a lot of what we're doing, there's already stuff built there that we could just take and use. It's just the specifics that are different, but we don't have to reinvent governance and policy. Again, we can use what we already have and just see how it applies to this new technology.
What's your thoughts on, like, great to have experts here like you, get all my questions answered, like great, while we're streaming. The data management discipline's been around for a while. We've seen that in a category, I won't say niche, but it's a category, but that's gone mainstream. Governance has gone mainstream.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. We've been talking about it for 8 months straight. I've said it more in theCUBE in the past 8 months than 15 years, but governance is a key ingredient. Security, agentic, all this stuff here. How has data management changed, and who can cross that chasm? Either from the modern legacy players to AI, because you're seeing a lot of people kind of moving over, landing, some not. And new entrants coming in natively. Break that out for us, in your opinion.
So I guess from my perspective, I think if we're talking about data, in order to have that context in your agents and models, you kind of have to have the right data from the start. So yeah, even if you're using a tool to manage all of that data, a lot of the information you would want might still be in the engineer's head. And so like, how can we get them to document what they have? I know this is going backwards, right? They might be able to use AI to help them document it, but we need to get that information in order to be able to use it in our tooling. So
get the data right.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so final question. Next year, what do you see the progression, seeing the signals, the naming, the foundations, which I think is a great call. You decouple them, different groups, different domains, different working groups, but cohesive but connected.
Yes.
What's your prediction, what's your thoughts for what we might see evolve between now and next year?
I think better concentration on what value actually means, because especially in the AI world, we're not talking necessarily about just costs anymore. So we've done that on the FinOps side. FinOps is more about not just saving money, but about making better business decisions and adding to that business value. And so with AI, if you don't always have that cost lever to pull, it really is about the outcomes that you're getting from it. So I think we're going to see more about how people are able to get that ROI on AI, and probably more specifics on tasks that we can replicate at different companies to be able to govern it better and optimize.
So the valuation metric will be outcome, use case specific?
I think so. I hope so, but yeah.
That's the end, that would be the perfect scenario versus a bunch of data reporting.
Right.
Victoria, thank you for coming on and closing out our show here.
Yeah.
You're our 27th interview. This has been a great show, content-wise. It's been phenomenal. We learned a lot, we shared a lot, and we've got a big corpus for theCUBE AI. So thank you for coming on.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right, that's a wrap here for theCUBE. I'm John Furrier with Paul Nashawaty doing our part. A lot of content, a lot of expert commentary, insights, analysis, of course a lot of opinion, and we're happy to share that with you. Thanks for watching theCUBE.